Why do bad things happen to good people? That is a question that people have been asking for a long time. It's still a very popular and relevant question. And I appreciate you choosing to hear my interpretation of that answer, which I feel is ultimately the best answer you're going to get for a nearly impossible question. Why do bad things happen to good people? Well, here's ultimately what it comes down to. Who are the good people? We all naturally want to believe that if there are good people and bad people, that we ourselves are the good people. We naturally think of all the good things that we do in our life, and we think of all the bad things we've never done. In our own minds, we determine if you do these things, you're ultimately a bad person, and if you haven't done these bad things, you're a good person. Of course, the ultimate goal too is people always will say, well, I've never killed anybody. And see, that's problematic. What if you have killed someone? What if you have spent 30 years of your life in prison basically paying for that in the only way you can, and you've had a complete change of your perspective? And can you be redeemed from that? Will you always be a bad person because you killed someone? And even then, when it comes to murder, what exactly are we going to concentrate? What if someone's texting while driving and they crash into another car and that person dies? Well, you murdered someone because you were texting somebody while driving. Does that make you a bad person? You did indeed ultimately cause the death of another person. Or what if back in Vietnam you were 18 years old and you were drafted to go fight in Vietnam, and you believed that you were serving your country and fighting for our country's independence? You get over there, you realize it's a complete mess, and you think, well, I don't want to die, so I guess I better keep this gun in case someone tries to shoot me, but I don't really want to shoot anybody because I don't really even know what this is about anyway. So you're out in the jungle, you're trying to mind your own business. Shots start getting fired at you, you shoot back, the shooting stops, you've murdered people in this war. Does that make you a murderer? And looking back in hindsight, was the Vietnam War justified? Can we justify for our fear of communism that ultimately that was worth killing other people and going to that country? It's so much of a gray area when we're talking about what exactly makes a person good or bad. And even though people like to say, at least I'm not an axe murderer, I haven't killed anyone, that's not enough. It's not enough that murder defines you as a good or bad person. And we can do this with so many other things. People like to look at the good things they've done and look at the bad things that they haven't done, and therefore label themselves as a good person. And I think that if we can get that far, if we can get 3 minutes into this video and understand that really there's no such thing as a good person, and really there's no such thing as a bad person, because people can do all kinds of bad things but then turn their life around and do lots of good things. And so ultimately it's a bit arbitrary and self-centered to look at ourselves as a good person and other people as bad people. Because most people, I've learned, don't label themselves as a bad person. They label themselves as a good person. So imagine if everyone pretty much thinks that they're a good person, but they can easily label other people as bad. What does that say about everybody? We can't all be good people. And it's like a video I recently made talking about divorce. If the divorce rate is 50%, and I yet in my life have ever heard, I've never heard someone ever say, yeah, I got divorced, but it was my fault. I've never heard anybody say that. So what does that say about divorce? If half the people who get married end up getting divorced, but it's not their fault, it's the other person's fault, how does that make sense? So to me, it reminds me of that. Who is a good person? We want to believe, and I think ultimately we have to figure out that part. But then here's the next part of this concept. Well, because if I can prove that I am a good person, then it means ... that I don't deserve bad things to happen to me. Good people don't deserve bad things. Bad people deserve bad things. Why? Karma, which is interesting because a lot of people who ask the question, why do bad things happen to good people, are Christian. And this idea of karma is not a Christian concept. It actually goes back to Buddhism and Hinduism. That's where it comes from, Eastern religion. So we're thinking, well, I'm a Christian, I love God, I serve God, so bad things won't happen to me because I'm a good person. But then we still are drawing from a religion that's not even our own, thinking that, well, as long as I'm a good person, good things will happen to me, not bad things. Bad things happens to bad people. And for me, that's the opposite of what Christianity is actually about. It's not about saying that I'm a good person. It's about saying that I'm not a good person. None of us are good people. We're all people born in this same fallen world. And it's a matter of we serve God through obeying Him. But the moment we start to label ourselves as good, that's when pride kicks in. And it goes back to, we can look at all these things in the Bible that list, okay, well, I don't do this or this or this or this. Well, good for you, but isn't that pride? To judge yourself based on all the things you don't do? But pride, I would argue pride is one of the sins that the Bible is addressing the most, because it's the easiest to fall into. So, why do bad things happen to good people? Here's my answer. There are no good people. There are no bad people. There are people. There are good things you can do. Good things help other people. Bad things hurt other people, or maybe even yourself. So are you helping others and yourself? Are you doing your best to become a better person for yourself, but in the same way helping other people? Or are you living a selfish life that ultimately probably hurts you in the process, but it hurts other people? That's a decision you get to make, but still that doesn't define you as a good or a bad person, because the moment we think that good and bad people exist, we still want to go back to karma and think that we deserve something accordingly. And it doesn't work that way. The best answer I could give you at this point then is this. You're a good person, you believe you're a good person, you're living the best life you can. Bad things are still going to be happening to you. And so are good things. And good and bad things are still going to be happening to all the other people, however you label them and however they label themselves. And some really bad things are going to happen to some really good people, and some really good things are going to happen to some really bad people. It's always going to be that way. And we don't control that. And I think that's part of it. We want control over this situation. We want to control that if I live my life a certain way, at least I can avoid bad things. And we can to a certain degree. But overall, we don't have that control over our lives, which goes back to, and as far as in a Christian mindset, realizing that our future and our well-being belongs to God. It is by God's grace that we do not have to suffer certain things. However, God does allow us to suffer certain things as a character building exercise so that we ourselves can become more mature. And I've lived that so many times in my life. It's helped define me. So many things have happened in my life that I would not have chosen. I would have ran the other way if I could have. I wasn't able to. I had to survive those. I had to live through them. I couldn't get over them or around them, and I had to live through them. They actually made me a better person. But even now, if I had to do it over again, if I had the choice, I wouldn't have lived through certain things. So that's my answer. I think it's the best answer we can get. What do you feel about what I have said? Just leave a comment right here.